The extradition of Ovidio Guzman to the United States represents a pivotal moment in the relentless battle against drug trafficking and the insidious proliferation of deadly opioids. As the offspring of the infamous Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, Ovidio's association with the formidable Sinaloa cartel has cast him as a key player in the illicit drug trade's enduring saga, and this move has allowed the U.S. to give El Chapo's son a reality check. The image that stirred online buzz, Ovidio Guzman's extradition to the United States, marks a significant development in the ongoing efforts to combat drug trafficking and the spread of deadly opioids. As the son of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, a notorious Mexican drug lord, Ovidio has been associated with the powerful Sinaloa cartel, which has played a major role in the illicit drug trade for years. The video released by Mexican authorities depicted a gripping and volatile scenario as Ovidio Guzman emerged from a house with his hands raised in apparent surrender. At first glance, he might have seemed like just another ruthless cartel leader, but the Mexican army, experienced in its relentless fight against organized crime, understood the gravity of the situation and acted cautiously. Their caution proved justified as violence erupted shortly after Ovidio's apprehension. Cartel members, fiercely loyal to their boss, swarmed the scene, leading to a tense standoff between the military and the heavily armed cartel enforcers. In a move that showcased the cartel's unwavering determination, they refused to stand down, even when faced with the risk of their leader and brother being caught in the crossfire. According to reports from a local newspaper, Ivan Guzman, one of the Chapo brothers, responded to Ovidio's pleas for them to cease fire with a resolute declaration, "Hell no, we are coming to rescue you." The situation spiraled into what locals referred to as Operation Black Thursday, a day filled with terror. Ultimately, the Mexican president made the difficult decision to order Ovidio's release. It marked a significant victory for the Sinaloa cartel, demonstrating their ability to achieve their objectives through violence and even coerce the president into yielding to their demands. However, the president's decision wasn't due to a lack of power, but a result of careful consideration for the safety of the public. The Sinaloa cartel displayed a callous disregard for the lives of innocent citizens, and the government couldn't ignore the growing body count. The president emphasized, "You cannot value the life of a delinquent more than the lives of the people." Despite their initial victory, the war was far from over. The cartel's audacity, coupled with their earlier success against the government, may have fueled their confidence. Shortly after the release of Ovidio, members of the cartel took the life of an officer involved in the operation that led to Ovidio's capture. Eduardo, a high-ranking state police officer, met a tragic end as he was showered with over 150 bullets in less than 30 seconds. This act of violence, coupled with the military's tarnished reputation following the failed operation, may have spurred a second attempt to capture Ovidio. There were suspicions of political motivations, as this coincided with President Biden's visit to Mexico for bilateral talks. This time, the operation was executed swiftly and with precision. Like a predator pouncing on unsuspecting prey, the Mexican military descended upon Ovidio and his family in the early hours of January 5, 2023, as they slept after a night of celebration. In just 10 minutes, Ovidio was aboard a military helicopter bound for Mexico City, leaving no opportunity for escape and catching his cartel lookouts completely off guard. In a fit of frustration, cartel members unleashed their anger on innocent civilians and the Mexican military. They set buses ablaze, blocked streets, and even fired upon military helicopters and passenger jets at Culiacan's airport, forcing authorities to shut down the facility. The volatile situation continued, reminding all involved that the conflict was far from resolved. This incident highlighted the complex and dangerous nature of dealing with cartel members, even within the confines of Mexican law enforcement. The extradition of Ovidio Guzman to the United States is seen as a significant step in addressing the threat posed by the Sinaloa cartel's involvement in the fentanyl trade. Fentanyl is a highly potent and deadly synthetic opioid responsible for a significant portion of drug-related deaths in the United States, with approximately 200 Americans dying from it daily. U.S. officials have been eager to prosecute Guzman and his brothers, viewing them as key figures in the fentanyl trade responsible for flooding the U.S. market with the drug. Their activities have intensified the opioid epidemic, which has had a devastating impact on communities across the United States. The extradition process for prominent Mexican drug drug traffickers can often take years, making the relatively swift extradition of Ovidio Guzman notable. This expedited extradition is in contrast to that of his father, El Chapo, who was transferred to the United States approximately a year after his final arrest in Sinaloa in early 2016. It's important to note that Ovidio Guzman's friends and family within the cartel may have harbored ambitions of breaking him out of prison or preventing his extradition, given the history of such attempts in the past. However, the Mexican government, under pressure from the United States and recognizing the threat posed by the Sinaloa cartel, appears to have prioritized his extradition as part of a broader effort to combat drug trafficking and the opioid crisis. The track record of cartel bosses escaping from Mexican prisons has indeed made it incredibly challenging for authorities to keep such high-profile individuals incarcerated. The cases of El Neto and Caro Quintero are clear examples of this. El Neto, the leader of the Los Mexicles gang, managed to escape from prison and was on the run for several days before being killed in a shootout with Mexican authorities. His escape highlighted the audacity and resourcefulness of cartel leaders when it comes to breaking free from confinement. This incident demonstrated the difficulties in maintaining control over such dangerous individuals, even within high-security prison facilities. Caro Quintero, a notorious drug lord responsible for the killing of a U.S. DEA agent, had previously escaped from a Mexican prison. After serving a lengthy sentence, he was released in 2013 when a court overturned his conviction. Upon release, he resumed drug trafficking activities and unleashed violence in northern Mexico. His ability to walk out of prison and return to criminal activities highlighted the weaknesses in Mexico's prison system. These examples serve as a backdrop to understand the challenges faced by authorities in securing high-profile cartel members like Ovidio Guzman, the son of El Chapo Guzman, while they await extradition to the United States. The Guzman family, particularly Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, has indeed had a history of escaping capture by Mexican authorities, which has added to their notoriety. El Chapo's two prison breaks in particular were remarkable feats of criminal ingenuity. The first escape occurred in 2001 when he managed to flee from a high-security prison in a laundry cart. The second and more infamous escape took place in 2015 when he used a mile-long tunnel dug into the shower of his cell to make his getaway. El Chapo's sons have also been implicated in criminal activities, including their alleged involvement in orchestrating their father's 2015 escape. These actions have made them high-priority targets for both Mexican and U.S. law enforcement agencies. Ovidio Guzman Lopez and his brother, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, were charged in February 2019 by federal prosecutors in the United States with distributing cocaine, methamphetamine, and marijuana for import into the country. These charges were part of a broader effort by U.S. authorities to hold members of the Guzman family accountable for their roles in the drug trade. The trial of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman in 2019 provided insights into the inner workings of the Sinaloa cartel and its extensive drug trafficking operations. Additionally, Emma Coronel Espuro, El Chapo's most recent wife, was also charged with federal drug offenses by the same team of prosecutors. She later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 3 years in prison, shedding further light on the connections between the Guzman family and the Sinaloa cartel's drug activities. The Guzman family's history of escapes, high-profile arrests, and ongoing legal battles underscores the complex and enduring challenge posed by powerful drug cartels in Mexico and their impact on both sides of the border. Given the history of successful escapes by cartel leaders, it is likely that Ovidio Guzman faced stringent security measures while in prison, especially as extradition to the United States loomed. Mexican authorities would have been keen to prevent any potential escape attempts or acts of violence aimed at facilitating his release by cartel associates or family members. The extradition process for individuals like Ovidio Guzman is a high-stakes operation involving close coordination between U.S. and Mexican authorities to ensure the security and successful transfer of the accused. The incidents involving El Neto and Caro Quintero underscore the challenges and risks associated with detaining and managing individuals with the capacity to evade custody or incite violence, making strict security measures imperative. Ovidio's new home. While Ovidio Guzman Lopez has not yet been sentenced to serve time in ADX Florence, the prospect of his incarceration in this high-security federal prison paints a stark and isolating picture. If he were to be housed in ADX Florence, he would enter a world of extreme seclusion and heightened security, where every aspect of his existence would be tightly controlled. His potential home within ADX Florence would be a small, Spartan cell measuring approximately 7 feet by 12 feet. Inside, the starkness is palpable. Concrete furniture and a meager mattress on a concrete slab offer minimal comfort. It's a far cry from the comforts of the outside world. The deafening silence would envelop him as he spends 23 hours each day in solitary confinement. His solitude would be broken only by the hum of machinery and the distant echoes of a world he once knew. The thick, soundproof walls would serve as a constant reminder of his isolation, where even the faintest whisper would be absorbed by the unforgiving concrete. His tiny cell would be sparsely furnished, a deliberate design to eliminate any potential hiding places. In one corner, a small television would sit, but its offerings would be anything but entertaining. Inmates at ADX Florence are subjected to a strict selection of approved content, primarily educational programs intended to fill the long, empty hours of their days. Once a day, he would be allowed a brief respite from the confines of his cell. This comes in the form of an outdoor recreation period, an hour of precious time spent within a slightly larger cage-like enclosure. Here, he could gaze at the open sky, a fleeting glimpse of freedom that serves as a stark reminder of what he has lost. Contact with the outside world would become a distant memory. His phone calls would be monitored, his visits heavily regulated, and any semblance of privacy a distant dream. Every word uttered, every connection made would be scrutinized to ensure it poses no threat to security. The toll of such isolation is felt deeply. The mind can become a battleground in the absence of human interaction. Some inmates at ADX Florence rely on medication to navigate the treacherous waters of their mental health. Others turn to the solace of books or the tranquility of yoga to maintain a semblance of sanity. Rehabilitation takes a backseat to security in this unforgiving environment. While there may be meager educational and occasional programs, they are overshadowed by the facility's primary focus, confinement and control. For Ovidio Guzman, who finds himself at the relatively young age of 33, the prospect of potentially spending many years within the walls of ADX Florence would loom heavily. The isolation, the strict regulations, and the harsh conditions would test his resilience and fortitude, making each passing day a formidable challenge in a world where freedom is but a distant memory. Ovidio Guzman Lopez, known by the alias El Raton or the Mouse, represents a unique figure in the world of Mexican drug cartels. Born in 1990 in Culiacan, he grew up in the upscale Jardines del Pedregal neighborhood in Mexico City, a stark contrast to the tumultuous and dangerous world that would eventually define his life. These were transformative years in Mexico, marked by the emergence of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and significant political changes. While his father, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, served a prison sentence in the mid-1990s for his involvement in the murder of Cardinal Jesus Posadas, young Ovidio attended a school run by the Legion of Christ, a Roman Catholic religious order, reflecting his family's privileged background. However, this privileged upbringing did not steer him toward a conventional career. Instead, he was drawn back to Culiacan, Sinaloa, where family bonds and the allure of the drug trade prevailed. Ovidio's entry into the world of narcotics was marked by tragedy when his older brother Edgar was murdered in a Culiacan supermarket in 2008. It was during this tumultuous period that Ovidio, still in his late teens, assumed a prominent role in the cartel's operations. He and his brother Joaquin began overseeing the trafficking of drugs, including marijuana from Mexico, cocaine from Colombia, and ephedrine from Argentina, a key ingredient in the production of methamphetamine. One distinguishing aspect of Ovidio's life is his flamboyant lifestyle and confrontational approach. His arrest in October 2019 and the subsequent violent retaliation by Los Chapitos, the cartel faction led by Ovidio and his brother Joaquin, shocked Mexico and the world. In the face of his arrest, the city of Culiacan witnessed scenes of chaos, with burning vehicles, blocked streets, and armed gunmen taking to the streets. The episode, referred to as a Culiacanazo, showcased the brazenness of the cartel's response and its ability to challenge Mexican authorities. The stark difference between Ovidio and his father, El Chapo, is notable. While El Chapo was constantly on the run, utilizing tunnels and hiding in remote locations, Ovidio has chosen to live a life marked by violence and confrontation. He and his brother have openly engaged in armed confrontations with military forces, even attempting to shoot down military aircraft. The motivations behind Los Chapitos' confrontational posture go beyond financial gain, as experts suggest. It is rooted in the psychological rewards of violence, the allure of being part of a legendary narco culture, and the songs that glorify their exploits. Their actions are perceived as a performance, reflecting their desire to be part of a narrative that goes beyond mere criminality. The events surrounding Ovidio's recent arrest provide a glimpse into his significance within the drug cartel hierarchy. His arrest in Culiacan triggered a wave of chaos and violence, with cartel henchmen unleashing mayhem on the streets. This dramatic response highlighted the lengths to which the cartel would go to protect one of its key figures. The United States has long sought Ovidio's extradition, offering a substantial reward for information leading to his capture or conviction. This interest is not without reason. Ovidio stands accused of over overseeing significant drug trafficking operations, particularly in the production of methamphetamine, an illicit trade that yields enormous profits. The U.S. State Department alleges that he is responsible for the production of thousands of kilograms of methamphetamine each month. Ovidio's role within the cartel extends beyond drug production. His family ties and connections within the criminal underworld run deep. Reports suggest romantic links to individuals with connections to the cartel's old guard, further solidifying his position within the criminal network. The violence and chaos that erupted during his arrest in 2019 exposed the challenges that Mexican authorities face in combating powerful cartels like the Sinaloa cartel. The government's decision to release him at that time drew both criticism and questions about its commitment to tackling organized crime. Now, as Ovidio Guzman Lopez faces extradition to the United States, the stakes are higher than ever. His capture is seen as a significant development, and it comes at a crucial moment in U.S.-Mexico relations. The U.S. government's interest in bringing him to justice underscores the urgency of curbing the drug trade and the flow of deadly substances like fentanyl into the United States. As discussions between leaders of both countries take place, Ovidio's role within the cartel and the potential implications of his extradition will undoubtedly be on the table. The arrest of this high-profile figure serves as a reminder of the enduring power and influence of criminal organizations in Mexico, even as authorities seek to dismantle their operations. The four sons of El Chapo, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Ivan Archibaldo Guzman Salazar, and Jesus Alfredo Guzman Salazar, have played prominent roles within the Sinaloa cartel's criminal operations. Their involvement in the cartel began at a young age, as their father and El Mayo sought to groom them to understand the intricate workings of the organization. Among these brothers, Ovidio has garnered the most attention in recent years. Ivan and Jesus Alfredo, the other two brothers, are also vital cartel operatives. In 2016, they were abducted by the rival Jalisco cartel New Generation, CJNG, but were later released. Jesus Alfredo, in particular, has taken on a more prominent role and has earned a place on the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration's DEA Most Wanted list. He has also been indicted by U.S. prosecutors on drug trafficking charges. Notably, Jesus Alfredo is believed to play a significant international role for the Sinaloa cartel. In 2016, he spent time in Colombia, particularly in Medellin, under the protection of La Terraza, a powerful criminal gang. This international presence underscores the cartel's global reach. Joaquin, the fourth brother, has maintained a relatively low profile compared to his siblings. However, in February 2019, he was indicted by the U.S. Justice Department alongside Ovidio for conspiring to traffic cocaine, methamphetamine, and marijuana into the United States, allegedly spanning a decade from April 2008 to April 2018. In their father's absence following his 2016 arrest and extradition, the Chapitos have engaged in a power struggle with El Mayo and their uncle, El Guano, over control of the cartel's operations. The Chapitos have sought to assert their dominance within the group, leading to ongoing violent clashes between the two factions. These battles have extended to states like Baja California and Sonora, despite being in the crosshairs of U.S. authorities, with substantial rewards offered for their capture and sanctions imposed by the U.S. Treasury Department. The Chapitos have intensified their efforts to control the cartel's operations. They have expanded their influence into key drug trafficking corridors, such as those stretching from Sinaloa through Sonora and Baja California, reaching over the U.S.-Mexico border. The arrest of Ovidio in January 2023 raises questions about the future of the Chapitos' leadership within the cartel. Will the group stay united, or will internal divisions emerge? The Chapitos' ongoing struggle for control and their adaptability to changing drug markets demonstrate their determination to maintain their influence within the Sinaloa cartel and the broader landscape of international drug trafficking. Reality checks. Ovidio Guzman is just one example of the drug lords targeted by U.S. authorities. Another notable case is that of Hector El Güero Palma, a founding member of the Sinaloa cartel, who recently returned to Mexico after serving time in a U.S. prison. Palma's release and return raised concerns and discussions about the effectiveness of extradition agreements between the U.S. and Mexico and the potential consequences of releasing a notorious drug trafficker back into society. Hector Luis Palma Salazar, widely known as El Güero Palma, has a storied history in the world of drug trafficking and organized crime in Mexico. Born on April 29, 1960, in Noria de Abajo, Mocorito, Sinaloa, his life of crime began with car theft before he ascended the criminal ranks to become a formidable figure in the Mexican drug trade. Early in his criminal career, Palma worked as a gunman for the notorious drug lord Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo within the Guadalajara cartel. He later formed a partnership with Abelardo El Lobito Redamosa Machado, which eventually led him to become a co-leader of the cartel. Palma's association with Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and Ismael Zambada Garcia solidified his role within the Sinaloa cartel. However, Palma's journey took a dark turn when a large cocaine shipment was lost, and he was blamed along with El Chapo. Following the death of El Lobito Retamosa, Palma forged an alliance with El Chapo and El Mayo Zambada to further their drug trafficking operations. In a grim chapter of his life, Palma was arrested in Arizona in 1988 for drug trafficking, leading to an 8-year prison sentence in the United States. During his incarceration, his wife, Guadalupe Leja Serrano, betrayed him by running off with a rival trafficker named Rafael Enrique Clavel. Clavel forced Guadalupe to withdraw $7 million from Palma's bank account and later brutally decapitated her, sending her head to Palma as a gruesome message. The tragedy did not end there, as Palma's 2 young children, Jesus aged 5 and Natalie aged 4, were taken to Venezuela and callously thrown off a bridge, resulting in their deaths. In retaliation, Palma executed Gallardo's lawyer and Clavel's 3 children. Clavel himself was eventually arrested and murdered in jail on Palma's orders. After his release from prison in the United States in 2016, Palma was extradited back to Mexico, where he faced charges related to a double homicide of police officers that occurred in 1995 in Nayarit. He is currently incarcerated at the Altiplano prison, located near Mexico City. Upon his return, Palma was detained under an arrest order from the western state of Nayarit in relation to 2 murders. The details of these cases were not provided. The release of El Güero Palma has sparked debates about the potential consequences. While it is uncertain whether he will re-enter the drug trade, experts believe that the landscape of the drug business has changed significantly since his arrest. Some speculate that Palma may choose to stay out of the spotlight and disappear into Mexico's remote areas, much like another old guard drug lord, Rafael Caro Quintero, who has not been seen since his release in 2014. Palma's return has also raised questions about the U.S.-Mexico extradition process, as some in Mexico feel that he should have remained imprisoned in the U.S. for a longer period, considering the severity of his charges. Mike Vigil, a former head of international operations for the DEA, expressed concerns that Palma's release could lead to increased drug trafficking and violence in both the U.S. and Mexico, given Palma's expertise in the drug trade and his history of extreme violence. Hector Luis Palma Salazar's criminal journey intersects with the infamous drug lord Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, providing a window into the interconnected world of Mexican drug cartels. While Palma faced his share of challenges and confrontations within the criminal underworld, Felix Gallardo also experienced significant setbacks at the hands of U.S. authorities. Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, often referred to as the godfather of Mexican drug trafficking, played a pivotal role in the formation and expansion of drug cartels in Mexico. He was a key figure within the Guadalajara cartel, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the 1980s. Under his leadership, the cartel established extensive drug distribution networks that reached the United States. However, Felix Gallardo's criminal empire began to crumble when U.S. authorities intensified their efforts to combat drug trafficking. In 1985, the murder of U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, allegedly ordered by Felix Gallardo, sparked outrage and led to a significant crackdown on drug cartels. In 1989, Felix Gallardo was arrested by Mexican authorities, marking a major blow to his criminal operations. Subsequently, he was convicted and sentenced to prison in Mexico. However, Felix Gallardo's incarceration did not bring an end to his influence over the drug trade. From behind bars, he continued to exert control and maintain connections with various drug lords. It was during this period that Hector Luis Palma Salazar, known as El Güero Palma, faced his own challenges and suffered personal tragedies, including the loss of his family and imprisonment in the United States. Similar to Felix Gallardo's capture, Palma's arrest in 1988 in Arizona for drug trafficking resulted in his imprisonment in the U.S. justice system. However, Palma's life took a gruesome turn when his wife, Guadalupe Leja Serrano, betrayed him and was brutally murdered by a rival trafficker. The tragic incident involving Palma's wife and children highlights the brutality and ruthlessness of the drug trade during that era. While both Felix Gallardo and Palma faced imprisonment and setbacks, they remained influential figures in the drug trade. Felix Gallardo's arrest signaled a shift in the dynamics of Mexican cartels, leading to the fragmentation of the Guadalajara cartel into smaller competing organizations. Emma Modesta Coronel Aispuro, the wife of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, and El Chapo himself, both experienced significant run-ins with U.S. authorities, mirroring the challenges faced by drug lords like Ovidio Guzman. Emma Coronel's ordeal with the U.S. authorities began in February 2021, when she was arrested on charges related to her involvement in her husband's drug trafficking activities. The charges included conspiracy to unlawfully import and distribute illegal drugs, money laundering, and transacting business with a significant foreign narcotics narcotics trafficker designated under the Kingpin Act. Her arrest demonstrated the extensive efforts by U.S. law enforcement to target high-profile figures within drug cartels. Just as they did with Ovidio Guzman, Coronel's arrest was based on evidence suggesting her role in facilitating communication between El Chapo and associates within the Sinaloa cartel, as well as her involvement in aiding his escape from prison in 2015. This arrest highlighted the lengths to which U.S. authorities would go to apprehend individuals connected to major drug trafficking organizations. In a parallel to the case of Ovidio Guzman, there were speculations surrounding Coronel's arrest. Some sources claimed that she voluntarily surrendered and was seeking a court settlement, while her lawyer denied these allegations. This uncertainty and the secrecy surrounding her arrest demonstrated the complexities of dealing with individuals deeply entrenched in the world of organized crime. Additionally, Coronel's plea deal and subsequent prison sentence underscored the U.S. government's determination to hold individuals accountable for their involvement in drug trafficking. Her guilty plea to multiple counts, including conspiracy to distribute drugs and money laundering, led to a prison sentence, albeit shorter than what prosecutors had initially sought. This outcome showcased the U.S. legal system's efforts to secure convictions against high-profile cartel members. Similarly, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman faced a protracted battle with U.S. authorities. His multiple arrests, escapes, and eventual extradition to the United States demonstrated the relentless pursuit of justice by U.S. law enforcement agencies. Guzman's high-profile trial in the U.S. further exposed the inner workings of the Sinaloa cartel and its extensive criminal activities. In comparing these cases to that of Ovidio Guzman, it becomes evident that U.S. authorities consistently sought to disrupt and dismantle drug cartels by targeting key figures within their leadership. Whether through arrests, prosecutions, or extradition, the U.S. legal system employed a multifaceted approach to tackle organized crime networks. The experiences of Emma Coronel and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman serve as examples of how U.S. authorities gave drug lords a run for their money by leveraging legal tools, international cooperation, and persistent efforts to hold them accountable for their criminal activities. These cases collectively demonstrate the resolve of law enforcement agencies to combat drug trafficking and organized crime at the highest levels. If you love watching videos like this, which take a deep dive into the world of cartels and crime, make sure to click on the video shown on your screen to watch more videos like this.